not Israel and the contemporary situation within a certain context. And I think that the question that I raised the issue up for discussion was, why is everybody not an avid Zionist? How do I understand so many great Gedolei Torah? And look, the issue is an extremely profound one. Because I'm sure you're all aware of the fact that during the 20s and 30s, individuals like Zev Jabotinsky went from community to community of Europe, screaming, it's bad. The Jewish community is being destroyed. And those who were wise could see the handwriting on the wall. And it wasn't only Zev Jabotinsky and Theodor Herzl. It was Talmidei Hagra, Ravino Mishklov, who wrote a very important sefer called Kol HaTov, The Sound of the Turtle Dove. It's been published by Rav Menachem Kasher. It was the Chatam Sofer. Because of Shmuel Mulliver, it was Rav Avram Tzvi Cohen Cook. Those great leaders, religious and even secular, who saw the handwriting on the wall. But nevertheless, you had an overwhelming majority of rabbis, many, Torah, Hasidic Rabbeim, who told their people to stay in Europe. Amazing letter by Rav Eliyahu Desker, Rav Eliyahu Desker was a mashgiach Yetzim, a great religious personality. And he has a specific letter. It's in the first volume of Mechtav Eliyahu. I believe it's page 75 through 77 in the Mossad Harav Kook edition, in which he deals with this issue. And he says there was such a thing called Yemunat Chachamim, you have to have faith in the words of the sages. Then they weren't wrong. If they said it, we don't understand it, but they weren't wrong. I'm not giving you a lecture now on Yemunat Chachamim. I have a very different approach. Perhaps in another context we talk about what Yemunat Chachamim means and does not mean. I do not believe that it means the infallibility of the Gedolei Torah. The only one who is infallible is God. And that's not what I learned from our Rebbe of Rav Soloveitchik. Nevertheless, I do want to understand the position of these Gedolei Torah. I want to understand the position of so many rabbis and teachers in America and in other places in Galut who don't talk about coming to Eretz Yisrael. And you know, you can reform Judaism in two ways. You can reform Judaism by saying I'm changing a certain halacha, or you can reform Judaism by not talking about certain areas, and therefore they fall into disuse. I've often thought that it's a pity that living in Eretz Yisrael is not a chumrah, like lat kosher, chalav yisrael. And all the Jews in Borough Park, Monsey, Stamford Hills, run to Israel. But since living in Eretz Yisrael is not a stringency, but it's a central command, it's a mitzvah. We read it in Parashat Masei. Bamidbar, Perek Lamed Gimel, Pasuk Gimel. And you shall conquer the land and live in it. Because I have given you this land to inherit it. It's a mitzvah. So that I'm not counts it. So why doesn't everyone understand the mitzvah? Why isn't everyone here? why isn't everyone, if they're not here, telling themselves and their people to come here? What happened? And I think if you would like to understand what happened, perhaps let me begin with what would the Satmar Hasidim answer my question? What would they say? It's that we have to wait for Mashiach. Well, put it differently. More than we have to wait for Mashiach, we have to wait for who? We have to wait for God. We have to wait for God. God will take care of it. When God tells us it's the right time, it'll be the right time. We can't make these decisions ourselves. We can't do it ourselves. I want to say something that's going to sound strange, and I'm going to say it clearly. I don't want it to be misunderstood. Anything that Jews take seriously and that Judaism takes seriously, we do not only leave to God. Anything that's really important, we do not leave only to God. And let me illustrate by a very important story. And the illustration, I think, is a critical one, and it will put my question into proper meaning. There was a great Rav, Rabbi Itzel in Petersburg. His real name was Rabbi Yitzchak Glaser. He was a top student of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, and he was the Rav in Petersburg, which was then changed to Leningrad, and now is again Petersburg. I hope it doesn't change again, but you can never tell in this book. And it was a very good shtella, it was a big shtella, it was an important shtella. And they decided to fire him. Group from the shul, Balabatim, Mishlachat, group, a delegation came to tell him that he was fired. And when he asked why, they said to him, because you became a Tziyoni, you became a Zionist, and therefore you're a heretic. Why am I a heretic to become a Zionist? He had to become a Zionist. He said, why am I a heretic to become a Zionist? And he was told as follows. You know, we pray 3 times a day. Please, God, restore your presence to Jerusalem. Baruch atah Hashem bonei Yerushalayim. Blessed art thou, O God, the builder of Jerusalem. You say it 3 times a day. And you become a Tziyoni. You want to join the Zionists in doing it yourself? 3 times a day, you ask God. You're a heretic. Let's bring it to the Rebbe, but that's right, I'm a heretic. But if I'm a heretic, then you, Rav David Dayan, the judge of the Tehillah, you're also a heretic. Because didn't I see last week when your daughter had a very bad asthma attack? Didn't you take her to a doctor? And don't you pray 3 times a day? Va'enu Hashem v'neirafei Baruch atah Hashem rofei cholei Yisrael. Heal us, O God, so that we may be healed. Blessed are you, O God, the healer of the people of Israel. And you, Rav Shmuel, the Parnas, the president of the shul, you're also a heretic. You have to come along with me. Didn't I see you in business until 10 o'clock last night? And don't we pray 3 times a day for Parnasa, the blessing for Parnasa? Borech Aleinu with Hashanah Azot, Baruch atah Hashem, Borech Hashanim. Blessed art thou, O God, who blesses the healers and gives us sustenance. But what's the truth? That when it comes to health and sustenance, we first must do whatever we can do, and only after that do we rely on God. So why should Yerushalayim and Eretz Yisrael be any different? And this is 100% the case. That's why according to the Ramban, it's a mitzvah in every generation to come to Eretz Yisrael and to attempt to conquer it. That's why according to the Rambam, we have to build the Beit HaMikdash. We never leave up to God the portion that we can do for ourselves. We believe. If you do what you can do and you come to purify, you'll be helped from above. But fundamentally, you've got to begin the process. That's what Judaism is all about. That's what's true in everything. So why should Eretz Yisrael be different? And that really becomes my question. All of you, you've read the Chumash, you're reading these Parshiot. It's not a pasuk that doesn't mention Eretz Yisrael. ברכת המזון, ויאכלת ושבעת ונאכת השם אלוקיך על הארץ הטובה אשר נתת. Eat, drink, be satisfied, and give praise to God for the land which He has given you. The land isn't America, and it's not Russia. It's not England, and it's not South Africa. No, it's not. It's Israel. So what happened? And I want to, as best as I can now, try to explain to you what I think happened. And what I think is happening. The fundamental source for my words is Masechet Gittin, Daf Nunvav, Amud Aleph, and Nunvav of the famous story of the destruction of the Second Temple. Time of the destruction of the Second Temple, when the Romans had already breached the wall surrounding Jerusalem and they came into the holy city, and they were already beginning to destroy the Beit HaMikdash, the holy temple. There were different factions, as there always is among the Jews, within Jewish leadership. Josephus gives you a description that's almost blood-curdling. It shows you how the Romans were coming to the gates, and the Jews were fighting amongst themselves. And nothing's ever changed. But at that particular time, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who was a very great sage and the leader of the Jewish people, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai made a very strong decision. The people in Jerusalem, as a matter of fact, his nephew was the head of a group called the Kachniks, the Sicarii, but they were Kachniks, that's what they were. They were Kanoim. And they wouldn't let anything stop their maintenance and conquest of Jerusalem. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai disagreed strongly, and Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, through a ruse, made believe he was dead, and he got into a coffin, and he was taken out of the city, and he went to see Vespasian, and he asked Vespasian for Yavne. Tell me Yavne v'chachameha, give me the city of Yavne and her wise men. Now I want you to understand in terms of policy what this meant. In terms of policy, this meant that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was giving up on national sovereignty. Yerushalayim and the Beit HaMikdash was national sovereignty. When Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says, Ten liyavne v'chachameha, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is fundamentally saying, you need to survive. And when you need to survive, you can't worry about national sovereignty and the dream of national sovereignty. So Yavne meant, in effect, let me say what I can say, even if it's a little bit. Let me say a makom tov. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai got his request granted. Now I want to tell you, and I would direct you to an excellent article which is written by Gedalia Alon, a great Second Commonwealth scholar, former professor at the university, in his mechkarim on Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. The fact is that the overwhelming majority of rabbis did not go along with Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. The overwhelming majority of rabbis stayed behind in Jerusalem and continued fighting. Indeed, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, a contemporary of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, was killed after Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai went to Yavne. Nevertheless, the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. And those rabbis who remained alive joined Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai in Yavne. Ultimately, the Rabbi Gamliel, the son of that martyr, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, became the head of the Sanhedrin, and Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, because many thought that he had been a traitor, that he gave up too much too soon. Like other leaders I know. But Lahavdil Elef Abdallah, because they can't compare to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. The situation is very different. But Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai lived out his life. He went into retirement in Borachai. Now I'll tell you how I know that the rabbis were upset at Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, especially one great rabbi, the next generation leader, Rabbi Akiva, because the Gemara in Daf Vav Bet in the Sechet Gittin says that Rabbi Akiva said about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, he signed the pasuk from Yeshayahu, Perek Mendav, Perek Menhei. The pasuk reads as follows: Meishiv Chachamim Achor V'Da'atam Yisakel. Any of you translate that pasuk for me? It's not this pasuk. Meishiv Chachamim Achor V'Da'atam Yisakel. Sometimes God causes the wise people to walk backwards and changes their wisdom into foolishness. Meishiv Chachamim Achor V'Da'atam Yisakel. The Gemara in Gittin in Vav Bet says that's what Rabbi Akiva said about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. It's an amazing comment because he gave up on national sovereignty, because he gave up on Yerushalayim. I once heard from one of them something that was Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was also not certain that he had made the right decision. There's an amazing passage in the Talmud in Sechet Brachot about mental death. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is dying, and his students come in to visit him, and they find him weeping. His students say, Rabbeinu, Patisha Chazak, powerful hammer blow, Amut Yemini, right hand pillar, you're the greatest leader of our generation, a great Talmid Chacham, gave yourself over to the needs of Am Yisrael and Torah Yisrael. What are you afraid of before you die? Why are you crying? And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says to his students, Ilu lifnei melech basar v'dam ayu lishmot. If they were now taking me before a flesh and blood mortal king, Shahayom kanu machar bekever, who is here today and is in the grave tomorrow. She'ein ka'aso ka'asolam, ve'ein isuro isurolam, ve'ein mitato mitatolam, whose anger is not an eternal anger, whose imprisonment is not an eternal imprisonment, and whose slaying is not an eternal slaying. Ve'efshar l'faiso b'dvarim u'l'shachado v'mamon, and it's possible to appease him with words and to bribe him with gifts. I would still be afraid. Now they're bringing me before the King of all Kings, the Holy and Blessed One is here. Who lives forever and in all eternity. Whose anger is eternal, whose imprisonment is eternal, whose slaying is eternal. Whom it's impossible to bribe with gifts or to appease with words. There stand before me two roads, one to hell and the other to heaven. And I don't know to which they are leading. Before he dies, he's afraid that he's going to go to hell. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, I mean, certainly he was never in Chavishanis. He never missed a mincha. What was he afraid of? Unless we posit that he made a decision that was faithful to the Jewish people, go to lead, And he's frightened at the end of his life that maybe he made the wrong decision. You know, it's not easy to do this. Menachem Begin's last years were spent in a terrible situation. He was a shell of his former self. He made two very fateful decisions. The first in giving up Yamit, and the second in going into the Lebanon War. And if you're a person of conscience, and if you think you may have made the wrong decision, obviously human lives are at stake. That was Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. And then his student said to him, Rebbe, bless us. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai blesses them. You should have fear of God no less than fear of human beings. And they said, that's all. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, Ulavai, I wish it were like that. And I could hear the sleer, the echo. He was thinking, maybe I was too afraid of Rome. Maybe I was more afraid of Rome than I was of God. And then Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says, prepare a throne for Chizkiah Melech Yisrael. Who is Chizkiah? Chizkiah was the king of Judea when Assyria came to conquer Israel. And at the last moment, they laid siege to Jerusalem. All of the hosts of Assyria miraculously died. So Yochanan ben Zakkai thinks of Chizkiah, maybe if I had waited a little bit, maybe, if I hadn't given up so quickly on Yerushalayim, maybe the situation would have been different. The Gemara is very harsh on Chizkiah. The Gemara says the Mashiach would have come in Chizkiah's time, but he didn't say Shira, he didn't respond properly. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai thinks, maybe I kept back to Shira. Maybe I gave up too much to Suk. It's very difficult. If you're going to your death with this on your conscience, it's very hard to be a Jewish leader, especially in such painful times. And Rabbi Akiva said about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who was his Rebbe, Meishiv Chachamim Achor V'Datam Yisakeh. And Rabbi Akiva, a generation later, tried desperately to make up for what he believed was Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's mistake. What did Rabbi Akiva do? What did he organize? The Bar Kokhba rebellion. Rabbi Akiva declared Bar Kokhba Melech HaMashiach. According to Rav Haigon, the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva who were killed, who died, were killed in the Bar Kokhba rebellion. Rabbi Akiva had the first yeshiva there in history. His Talmidim were Lamdanim, Talmidei Chachamim who went out to fight. And the Bar Kokhba rebellion, you all know, ended first at the beginning. It looked like it was succeeding. There were a few very good years, very few, good years. The Bar Kokhba rebellion lost. Not only did it lose, but it was the end. The Hadrianic persecutions, Arzei Halvanon we read this morning, the Kinnah about the loss of the Asara Hamidei Malchuyot. Rabbi Akiva himself loses his life. In the Hadrianic persecutions, his flesh is torn from his body with great iron cones. And that's what caused the great Jewish exile of Jews scattered to all four corners of the globe. The 1900s. That was the Bar Kokhba rebellion. Therefore, I want to tell you something which I believe, I honestly believe is true. I think this is precisely what happened. What was the machloket between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yochanan? Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, I have a mitzvah. He says, look, I understand Jewish sovereignty is important, Eretz Yisrael is important, that is important, and I want you to realize what makes Eretz Yisrael and the Beit HaMikdash so important. We have a mission. The mission is to bring God to the world. The mission is to redeem the world. It's a very big mission. That's what it means. To be a Jew doesn't mean to eat shal and Shabbos afternoon. To be a Jew doesn't even mean to fast on Tisha B'Av. It's important to have to eat shal and Shabbos afternoon. You like cholent? And you have to fast on Tisha B'Av even if you don't like the fast. You have to keep the Shulchan Aruch, but that's not what it really means to be a Jew. What it really means to be a Jew, and what's difficult about being a Jew, is what we say in Aleinu after every statutory prayer, L'takeino Rambam al Chut Shakai, to perfect the world in the kingship of God. That's what it means to be a Jew. To be a Jew means to bring the message of Torah to everybody in the world. It's very hard. How do you do it? Very tough problem. It's easier to tell you how you can't do it than how you can do it. You can't do it by fighting over Knesset seats. You can't do it by fighting over who should be the chairman of the finance committee. The yeshivot, we're getting closer. But the fact is, you can't do it unless you live an exemplary life of honesty. You know, Zachariah said it. You know, when they built Bayit Sheni, could you imagine? They built Bayit Sheni. And they sent a delegation from Bavel to ask the Navi Zachariah. We'll find it in Zachariah Perek Zayin Perek Chet. Do we still have to fast on Tisha B'Av? We've rebuilt the Beit HaMikdash. Can you imagine if this morning you would have heard in the beeps, not that Jews were being evacuated from Sarajevo, but if you would have heard in the beeps that the Beit HaMikdash is there. So can you imagine all the shyness that we can get into? I still have to fast. So we have a sword. Zachariah Perek Zayin, you still have to fast. Because God says, Atzon tzutuni ani, do you think I benefit from your fast? A fast is not an end, it's a means to an end. The end is tshuva. And what does tshuva mean? Ha'emet v'ashalom lahavu, you have to love peace and truth. What does tshuva mean? You have to treat the almana and the geir, the widow and the stranger and the orphan and the poor with special consideration. You know what tshuva means? You have to live such an exemplary, moral, and ethical life. You know, Zachariah says that 10 goyim will grab on to the coattails of one Jew and will say, Milchai bachem, we'd like to go with you. Because we heard that God is with you. That's what it means to be a Jew. If you don't act like that, and you're not carrying out what Judaism is, no matter how many challenges you got Shabbos. And no matter how many fasts, you can fast every Monday and Thursday. You can fast every single Monday and Thursday if you don't lead the kind of life which will cause a Jew to want to be like you because of your ethical ideals and ethical practices, then you are not truly carrying out the mission. That's what it means when it's hard to be a Jew. Fasting on Tisha B'Av is hard. It's a little hot. It's a little hungry. It has to create an ethical society only from the backdrop of our own nation state. We can't control the South African streets. We can't control the New York streets. We can't control the racial riots in America. We can't control the racial riots in South Africa. But we can make a difference in Israel. And I got to tell you, with all the difficulties, there's no country in the world in 45 years that's accomplished what we've accomplished, Baruch Hashem, in terms of kibbutz galiyot and yisur galiyot and Jews from all over the world, and black Jews, white Jews, brown Jews. We've done a very good job. There are problems, there are difficulties, but Baruch Hashem. And it's only from the backdrop of such a nation state that we have a chance at getting our message through. That's redemption. That's what it means to be a Jew. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says, I understand. But sometimes you have to put redemption on a black ribbon with this why. If you're not going to survive, then you're not going to be able to redeem. In order for me to teach you ethics, I've got to live. That's why I hope Rabin will tell President Bush the short amount of time he has left in office. I was in Washington, it's a scholar in residence, so they asked me to say something about politics. I said, I don't talk politics, I'm not. All I can tell you is that the Gemara says that the Mashiach will come riding on a donkey. America, the other things are Republicans, Democrats. That's what Rabbi should be saying to President Putin. We have to be able to survive. Believe me. Freezing settlements, and the Frat's not involved, the Frat is like Jerusalem. But I'm not necessarily happy. Very happy for a Frat, but I'm not necessarily happy with the atmosphere of the Frat. Freezing settlements is not the way to survive, especially not making no intelligent person makes concessions before you even sat down. That's right. You don't do it. No businessman does it. Nobody does it. So I'm very concerned, and we've got to live. And I said, we've got to live. We've got to live. And therefore, put redemption on the back burner. Rabbi Akiva says, don't fool yourself. You never, first of all, without Israel, without national sovereignty, you're not going to be able to live. And secondly, to be a Jew means to sacrifice for redemption. What were the last words Rabbi Akiva said when the Gemara of Rachel Samachay, when they were tearing his flesh out with iron cones? What were his last words? Anybody remember? What did he say? Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Can someone please translate that pasuk for me? Not just the literal translation. What does the pasuk mean? We say it 3 times a day. What does it mean? Shema Yisrael, Shabbat Shabbat. What does it mean? That's what the Mishnah says. You have to have kavanah. That's one part of it. That's not the whole.
Now Hashem is our God.
Now God is our God. Hashem is now a painter. But there will come the time by Yom Ahum Hashem Echad Yishmo Echad. There will come a time when God will be one over the entire world. That's what Navi Zechariah says. That's what Oleinu says. Oleinu L'Shabeach and Alkeina Kamenacha is the Midrashic interpretation of the Shema. That's what it is. So Rabbi Akiva dies with the Shema in his lips, not only because it was time to say Shachrit. He dies with the Shema in his lips because that's the final message he wants to give to posterity. Don't give up on the Jewish dream. Don't give up on the Jewish goal. Don't give up redemption for survival. Don't give up tikkun olam for a Shabbos afternoon. Don't do it. So Rabbi Akiva remained convinced of his ideal and his position even to the end. Now what happened to start? Kindergarten. History vindicated Rabbi Yochanan. He never lived. History truly, Chazal, vindicated Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. And as a result, in effect, Chazal said, worry about survival, put redemption on the back burner. In other words, leave redemption. That's when the switch, a very critical switch took place, a logical and understandable, and perhaps even a correct switch. To be like, well, yeah, that kind of thing, I'm going to die for the ideal. Chazal said, no, that's not what God wants of us. There's a historical period you have to take history into account, the political reality into account. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was vindicated after the tremendous loss of life in the wake of the Bar Kokhba tragedy. And if you follow the Midrashim, there's a whole spate of Midrashim which were created at precisely this time, the 2nd and 3rd centuries of the country. Don't forget, the rebellion failed in 135. And by the end of the 2nd century and the beginning of the 3rd century, there were a whole group of Midrashim. I'll give you the most famous of them, which you find in the very last page of the Second Ketubot. And it's It's also in Midrash Shirash Shirah. There were 3 oaths with which God abjured the world, 2 for the Jews and 1 for the Gentiles. And this is the heart of the Satmar Rebbe's teaching and the anti-violence teaching. The 2 oaths with which God abjured the Jews, not to rebel against the nations of the world and not to climb the ramparts of Jerusalem. Leave national sovereignty and redemption alone. Leave it to God. And the oath with which God abjured the Gentiles of the world, lo lehishtabed Yisrael midai, not to make the Jews suffer too much, means slavery. Come back. We will give up our national sovereignty, and you goyim let us live. And for close to 2,000 years, this unexpressed compact work. There are many other midrashim like that. There's a midrash from this period that says, when a big wave comes, you go to the ocean and there's a big wave. So the stupid person tries to fight the wave and drowns. The clever person bends. The wave goes over. And he stands straight. That's what you do. Bend, the wave will go over. Another statement in the Yerushalmi. If you're planting a tree, and somebody says to you, the Mashiach is coming, finish planting the tree, and then go to see about the Mashiach. In other words, leave redemption and worry about tomorrow. That was fundamentally the message. And that for us, in fairly good stead, we lived. I mean, there were those who agreed, those who didn't agree, but basically the majority of rabbis did agree, and we created the Babylonian Gemara, the Mishnah was prepared to share. The Gemara we created, the Babylon, we created Sefer Psak, and the Shonim, we created the Hasidic movement, and the Mussar movement. There is no question that we did great things, spiritually certainly, through the diaspora, and we managed in the exile for 19 years. Survival. There were pogroms here and there was a Chamietsky here and there were some difficulties, but we managed. Then came the middle of the 18th century. And here I'm coming to my conclusion. I want you to understand what's happening. In the middle of the 18th century, 2 things occurred which dramatically changed the region. The first thing that happened was the ghetto walls fell. The ghetto walls fell. And with the falling of the ghetto walls, part of the world emancipation that came with the French Revolution, with the fall of the ghetto walls, for the first time, Jewish assimilation began to take place. You've got to understand that for at least 3,000 years before, 99.9% of Jews were religious. If you decided not to be religious, you weren't Jewish. The definition of Judaism was Shabbos, Yom Tov, Kashrus, 3 prayers a day. Suddenly, with the breakdown of the ghetto and what's called the Haskalah, or the emancipation, secular Judaism began making inroads, and assimilation began to take place. Number 2, nationalism. Worldwide nationalism. Countries began claiming nationalism for themselves. And when a country became nationalist, there was one group of citizens that were not nationals. And those were the Jews. That's why it's no wonder that in the 1800s, the intellectual Jews divided into 2 camps. The Zionists and the communists. Because the communists were not nationalists. They believed ultimately the nationalism was take over the world. But they believed in a kind of, workers of the world unite. Arbeiter von der Welt sammelt heim. They were a universalistic movement. So some of the Jews felt nationalism is too much of a dream. We could become part of the communist universalism. But what happened to the Jewish people was a twofold danger of assimilation from within and anti-Semitism from without. The secular Jew saw it. That's what Theodor Herzl saw. That's what made him write the Judenstaat. He wasn't religious, but he saw that these two things, the assimilation from within and the nationalism and anti-Semitism from without, he saw it in the Dreyfus case, would not allow the Jews to continue to survive in the exile as they had survived before. And the great Rabbanim saw it. The Gross saw it, and his Talmud Hillel Mishlav saw it, and the Menachem Mendel of the Teps, the great Talmud of Baal Shem Tov saw it, and the Chakam Sofer and his Talmudim saw it. Rav Yitzchak HaKohen Kook saw it. And Rav Shmuel Malav saw it, Rav Yehuda Alkalai saw it, and all of the modern religious scientists. Therefore, what they said was, now, Rabbi Akiva is the only way, because if the argument of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was give me Yavna so that we can survive, we cannot survive any longer in the Yavnas of the world. It was a big argument, but that argument was settled between 1939 and 1945. Final solution, the argument is welled up in the concentration camps of Auschwitz and Treblinka was not the V'chai Bahem, you shall live by these my laws of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, or the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem, Shema Yisrael, or Rabbi Akiva. What welled up from Auschwitz and Treblinka was Ein Breira. We have no choice. If we're going to follow the policy of the last 1900 years, it can't bow and the wave will pass. The wave will destroy us because the world is ready to destroy us. Hitler was not waging a war against the Jews of Germany or against the Jews of Europe. Hitler was waging a war against the last Jew. Hitler was waging a war against Judaism, and the entire world stood by. There were those that helped him actively, like the Poles, and there were those who helped him passively, like President Roosevelt. But the fact is that the entire world stood silently by. I want to tell you, imagine if we had to rely on the world, it would be like the Croatians today. It would be like the Kurds, Rahman. All of those who have to depend upon even America. Yes, if you Saudi Arabia, America will help you. She won't know how, and she'll leave the arch enemy still alive, who thumbs his nose at her, but she'll at least think she has to help you, because after all, she needs Saudi Arabian oil. But we don't have any oil. We just have a Torah. Nobody's interested in it. That is like us. So what rose up from Auschwitz and Treblinka was aimed at that. If we want to survive as a people, we're going to have our own nation state. We're going to have our own Tzahal. We're going to have our own police force. We're going to have to I'll never forget, I was in Kibbutz Eitz and I was telling children about the Holocaust on a Tisha B'Av. One little boy said to me, Harav, I told you about the ammunition. Where was the Israeli Defense Force? He's so right. He's absolutely correct. Now, those Jewish leaders who were against going to Israel and Zionism, they didn't see the historical change that took place. So Rav Shamshon of 12 years has a marvelous pshat on the pasuk in Ha'azinu, Zichru Yemot Olam, remember the days as of yore, Binu Shnot Dor Vador, understand the years of the generations. So Shamshon of 12 years says, Shnot means years, but Shnot also means changes. Understand the changes of the generation. You have to be alive to historical change. You have to be sensitive to historical change. You have to understand and you have to respond because history is crucial. those Rabbanim who understood the importance of Eretz Yisrael and not Yisrael, they understood the historical change, that what was good for the past 1900 years was no longer good. That we have to go back to Rabbi Akiva because we won't survive in the exile anymore. Those who do not are still caught in an outdated conception which since the Haskalah, the emancipation, has been totally irrelevant. And the death knell was placed on that conception tragically by Hitler and Bolsheviks, and how the world responded. So why isn't everyone an avid Zionist? Because most people are women. Some people are still blind.
How many millions?
Still blind. Tragic. And they think flesh pots. Ultimate will save them, although if they're smart, they realize that for their children and grandchildren, but we have to learn from Tisha B'Av and from Jewish tragedy that the exile for us is no solution. The solution is here. And the solution is here not only because it's negative big, not only because the exile has proved that it cannot be a home for us, and anyone is going to be happy when 52% of Jews are intermarried in America. And that's a very conservative figure because that counts all Reform conversions, not as intermarriages. By the way, the whole term intermarriage is a false term. Intermarriage is a sociological term to make it not sound so bad. It's not an intermarriage. It's an out marriage. It's a mixed marriage. What inter? When a Jew marries a Christian, it's not inter. It's out. It's the end of the line. But the reason for coming here is not only to escape the negatives that are there. The reason for coming here is to reestablish our link with ultimate Jewish destiny. And that link with ultimate Jewish destiny is redemption. Here, the fundamental question is not that. The fundamental question is not redemption. That's what we're working with. It's from this background that hopefully I have these fast, and there's Rav Hashem. Let's hope the messages today gets through. Those of you that are first hours of being together, nullify the tickets back.
That's right.
But hopefully we'll know about this.
They have the fan over there. They have the fan where you can bring it in. I thought one more thing.